Hello guys, this is Naruto-kun and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Lost All His Friends at Great Ninja War Except Sakura Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Night had fallen over the land by the time the 10 shinobi made it to the canyon. A cool breeze swept through the canyon, causing everyone present to shiver. Well, what now? Asked Choji, confusion present in his voice. We can't go down there now, stated Shikamaru, looking down into the black void of the canyon. It would be a tactical nightmare even with both Neji and Hinata's Byakugan. We'll have to wait till morning. Naruto, are you sure they're down there? Naruto was standing a few feet from the rest of the group, staring into the canyon, his eyes hollow, as he resided into the depths of mind. This was a part of my route when I was heading to Madara's hideout. He looked to his left where a small mountain lay, camouflaged by the darkness of the night, less than 2 miles from where it was all meant to end. In a flash, Naruto was brought back to reality by Shikamaru's voice, which sounded both annoyed and concerned. Sorry Shikamaru, yeah, the shinobi I tagged is down there. However, finding him and his comrades is a different story. Naruto grinned a little awkwardly, knowing he was caught out. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Voiced Hinata. Take a look, Hinata. Neji, take a look, tell me what you see, he said, turning his head back to the black void below. With that, both Hinata and Neji activated Air Byakugan before gasping softly. I can't see anything. Hinata. Neji asked, shock clear in his voice. All I see is blackness, Hinata replied in shocked at this revelation. She and all the others turned to Naruto for an explanation. Naruto hunched down, still looking into the darkness without taking his eyes off the canyon. The very rock itself is laced with an incredible dense layer of chakra. The canyon and the mountains are both covered in it. But how? Chakra doesn't accrue in nature like this, and the only chakra that would be dense enough to cause this would be, said Shikamaru. A Biju, Naruto replied, cutting of Shikamaru. Ever wonder why the Akatsuki bases could never be found? Madara, when in possession of the Biju, could use their chakra, though the access to it was limited to blanketing the area. By doing so he could avoid detection as well as keep his bases hidden. But the Byakugan should be able to see chakra, snapped Neji, his pride hurt by the fact Naruto seemed to know more than him. It's a jutsu, Neji, an old and powerful one, Naruto said, standing up and joining the group. How do you know this? Sai asked. Naruto simply stuck his thumb over his shoulder with a grim smile, hoping it would hide the discomfort he felt, being so close to this place again. Madara's final hiding place was just a few miles that way. This whole area is now a perfect hiding spot. They all stared at Naruto as realization set in at what Naruto just said. They were only miles from the battlefield of Naruto and Madara. Naruto had never spoken to anybody regarding that fight, not his friends, maybe not even the Hokage. The whole thing was covered in a veil of mystery, leaving a lot of people wondering what actually happened. How Naruto actually survived a one-on-one fight with supposedly the most elite ninja to ever walk the earth. Whenever asked, Naruto would insist on not speaking of what happened. An almost disturbed look would enter his eyes. We'll set up camp here and wait till morning, Shikamaru said. Who'll take first watch? I will, Naruto said. I'm too wired to sleep, and besides, you all look like you could use some rest after having to double time it today. I'll go second, I got enough of a rest, waiting for them. Sai added. Team Shikamaru and Team Asuma both nodded tiredly, the bags under each of their eyes reflecting the exhaustion they felt. With that, they all went to set up tents in the tree line. Sakura, however, stood for a second not moving, her eyes glued to Naruto's unmoving figure. Naruto, not noticing the hole she was staring into the back of his head, returned to the edge of the canyon and was again staring at its departments. N Naruto-kun. Sakura said, slightly nervous. Yes, Sakura. He turned to her with his foxy smile. That smile caught her off guard. Why was that, she wondered. When they were younger, that smile always made her feel good, safe, but it had never made her breath hitch like it did now. I could keep you company on the watch if you want, maybe we can catch up. It's been too long, she said with a glimmer of hope in her voice. She needed to talk with him. Not tonight, Sakura. You need your rest. Another time, besides, I want to set up tripwires. Get some rest. Good night. Naruto said, his smile not wavering as he headed for the tree line, his figure disappearing in the dark. And like that, Sakura was left alone, disappointed and hurt by the simple dismissal. When they were younger, he would have jumped at the opportunity to be near her, and now it seemed like he'd do anything to avoid her. She sighed sadly and went to set her tent up. Naruto pulled the wire tighter and let it go with a satisfied smirk on his lips. Done, he announced to himself happily. He got up slowly. Something crossed his mind. Naruto-kun. It kept replaying over and over. Why was she calling him that? He was never more than a friend with her, he knew that. She knew about his feelings for her since they became genin, and his prize consisted of beating, insults and glares. If that wasn't bad enough, in Iron Country she played with his feelings for what she claimed was his own good, but in truth, was for her to keep him out of the way. There was a snap and Naruto looked down to find he had snapped a kunai in 2 pieces. Alliance Base 1 year ago. Naruto navigated through the base with some difficulty. He was stiff and sore with burns and punctures. He had managed to shrug off Sai, who still insisted he needed further treatment, but he needed to see how Sasuke was doing. That took precedent. After asking around, a few disgruntled shinobi pointed him to his tent. Most shinobi, including that of Konoha, were not happy a traitor and mass murder was in their camp, even if he was brought back by the hero, Naruto. But Naruto didn't care. He'd made a promise to Sakura to bring him home, and he did. Besides, it's not like he cared if people started hating him again. He'd had to endure it when he was little, he could do it again. As he approached the tent, he noticed a nurse leave, as if quite keen to escape something or someone, her cheeks slightly flushed as if embarrassed. Naruto instantly assumed the worst and that Sasuke was trying to leave again. Pulling open the flap, he saw something he hadn't expected or hoped to see. At first glance, you could only see a slender frame and the pink hair of a kunoichi with no sign of Sasuke, but as he looked closely, just behind it, her could see a sliver of raven-colored hair and then a hand coming into view and gently stroking her cheek. At that point, reality hit him in the face like an iron fist. He was going to be fine, and Sakura was ensuring he got the best of treatment that Naruto could only ever dream he would receive from her when he ever hospitalized. A small feminine moan escaped Sakura, clearly enjoying the kiss they were sharing. Weight lifted off his shoulders. Finally, she had got Sasuke. There was no more possibility of him and Sakura. Finally he was free, but even trying to think and make himself believe that, his heart still clenched painfully. Good guys really do finish last. He felt nothing as he turned away from them. He knew what had to be done. Take care of each other, he whispered so quietly they wouldn't hear him as he turned and didn't look back. Present day. Naruto gently walked past the camp and sat down on a boulder at the canyon edge. After that moment in the tent, it was set in stone for him. He had always known Sakura's feelings for Sasuke and what would most likely happen when he brought him back, but he couldn't help but hold a small of hope that if he kept true to his promise, she might see him in a different light. Upon seeing that it was like the young naive child in him died and his father's calm personality took over. Though many would think a drastic change in personality would be unhealthy, he welcomed it. Because of this, the final piece of the puzzle fell into place for him and perspective of his life came into focus. Also, an answer to what seemed an impossible question to so many of his predecessors was as clear as day: how to achieve peace they all sought. He had his plan devised before he even found Kakashi, and his backup plan as well, which he left in Kakashi and Yamato's very capable hands. From there he left Alliance Command and found Madara, but like all plans, it didn't go as originally planned. Naruto sighed to himself and straightened himself up into his familiar meditation position. Sage Mode had many practicalities. He could keep an eye on everybody's chakra to ensure they were all safe as well as ensure no one could sneak up undetected on them. It also allowed him to rest while remaining alert, but more importantly he believed it could help with his flashes. They were becoming more intense and frequent, and he couldn't risk them happening in public or on a mission. It would raise attention to him and also could compromise him during a fight. As if hearing his thoughts, it came without warning, overpowering him. Pain. Sheer physical pain. His right arm felt like the inside was on fire. He has no choice before it spreads. He grips just below the shoulder, pushing chakra into his fingers. He rips his arm from its socket. Curse that Aburame. He'll pay for that. As quickly as it came, it was gone. Naruto was lying on his back, gasping for air heavily, clutching his arm, rubbing it up and down to ensure it was still there as he tried to calm himself. It was only a flash, it was only a flash, it wasn't real, he reassured himself, quietly. He sighed and sat up, slowly. He truly had a long way to go if he had any hope of doing this. With that in mind, he resumed his former position and didn't budge for the rest of the night. Sai walked from camp back to the clearing. It was early in the morning and sun was not yet up. Despite the lack of light, he could still make out the silhouette of a blonde sitting on a rock, in what looked like a meditation-like position. Naruto sat completely still as if he had turned into a statue. Sage Mode passed through his head. He had heard of this from Sakura and the others about this near-impossible technique which made Naruto an unstoppable force in his fights against Pain, Sasuke and Madara as well. You okay? Sai. Naruto said, breaking his stillness, his toad eyes staring down at his friend. Just coming to relieve you of watch. It's just past 4 a.m., you need some rest, Dickless, Sai said, looking Naruto up and down. Like the others, he rarely saw Naruto, and with his involvement with the Anbu, his already limited window of seeing Naruto became smaller. He really had changed. Thanks, Sai. Naruto grinned and jumped off the rock. He started heading back to the path that lead them to the canyon. Dickless camps that way, Sai pointed to the tree line. I know, but there's a stream 5 minutes from here. I need to cool down a bit. I'll be back soon, Naruto said with a wave over his shoulder, not looking back. Oh, and Sai, I want to call in a favor. And what would that be? Sai replied, curious to what possible favor he could do for him. The sun slowly emerged over the horizon, submerging the canyon and forest in its beautiful light. The two teams emerged from the tree line to where Sai was sitting on the rock, painting the sun rising over the canyon. They all were in better moods after a good night's sleep, except Sakura. She hadn't slept well, knowing that Naruto, a man she hadn't seen in a year, was only meters away from her. It made her uneasy knowing he was so close and she couldn't interact with him at all. All she wanted to do was run out to him, hold him, tell him she was sorry that she loved him and never let him out of her embrace. But like usual, she was a coward, to the core. I'm not a coward, injected inner Sakura, folding her arms. If I remember correctly, I told you, you would regret Eve. Shut up, Sakura seethed, in her head. As she looked around, she noticed the absence of the man who had taken over her thoughts all of last night. Where's Naruto? She asked. They looked at her with the same realization showing across their face. They all looked to Sai, who had relieved Naruto from his watching duties. Sai? Shikamaru asked, not trying to hide the suspicious tone in his voice. Oh, well, you see, last night Naruto called in a favor I owed him, said Sai, a little nervous, which came across as odd, for a man who never showed emotions. What favor? Asked Shikamaru, his suspicion flaring greatly. He said he was going into the canyon alone. He asked me not to tell you guys until now, Sai said, fidgeting under the surprised stares. What? Was the response he got from everybody, except Shikamaru, who just let a tch of annoyance. What's he doing? Her eyes narrowed and she cracked her knuckles. That baka, I guess he hasn't changed as much I thought. Even though she was angry, her heart clenched with worry and fear, both for the thought of him being by himself, possibly dying. 2. Her right hand grabbed her shirt above her heart, worry filling her system. What is he doing? He could get hurt or kill. She couldn't finish that word. Sakura froze. She was surprised. Her feelings to the situation had changed so quickly. If he had ever done this in the past, she would be livid at his stupidity, but now, she could feel worry in her heart and mind. TCH. Same old Naruto it seems. Let's go before he takes all the glory, or gets killed, replied Shikamaru using a humorous tone to cover the annoyed feelings he had. He was annoyed at the thought of his friend's recklessness, more than him stealing any sort of glory. This isn't funny, Shikamaru. Ino butted in, arms crossed. He could get hurt, added Tenten. Naruto may be youthful but the enemy. Lee tried to say. But nothing, Lee, as much as I hate to admit it, we all know what Naruto is capable of. I'll bet barbecue for everybody that Naruto has already completed the mission on his own, Shikamaru butted in. But why would he go in without us? Choji asked nervously. Isn't it obvious? They all paused, looking Shikamaru clearly lost. Apparently not. Naruto is uncomfortable around this place. Right over there is where he fought Madara, where he came close to death. We all don't know what happened there, but we all know it shook Naruto to his core. If getting out here quicker means dropping into the canyon alone in the pitch black, then he'll gladly do it, Shikamaru explained. Everybody looked down in shame. Naruto had indeed been uncomfortable mentioning it the night before, and none of them had asked him about it. God damn it, yelled Sakura. Amongst the confines of her head, she never could help Naruto the way he needed. She felt ashamed and guilty. You suck, chimed in her Sakura in a sing-song-like voice. Now come on, said Shikamaru. Naruto stood atop a small cliff within the canyon, using the rising sun's glare to hide himself from the enemies as he looked down at their camp. They truly were a ragtag bunch, all male in their late 20s, there was about 30 of them in number. They all seemed to be in a rush packing up camp. For that reason Naruto was curious, why now? They must have been there for weeks, why the sudden movement? Maybe his encounter at the river scarred them. What was lost to Naruto was the reason why Ba-chan had seen fit to send him, Sai and 8 other Jonin for that matter, to deal with this group. Ebisu's squad or any Chunin squad could have handled this with minimum risk to them. Was this part of your scheme to Ba-chan? He muttered to himself with frustrated smile. Then, deciding simple or not, he'd better take advantage of the situation while he had the chance. With that, Naruto hit the seals on his wristbands several times and a dozen three-pronged kunai appeared in his hands. With his lethal accuracy that would make even Tenten jealous, he then threw his kunai in multiple directions of the camp. The occupants of the camp were sharper than he gave them credit, noticed the incoming kunai but still unaware of their capability shouted, "Enemy!" in vain attempt to warn their comrades. But they were all too slow to react. A yellow flash appeared in the center of the camp before the first dozen shinobi even hit the ground dead. They all froze for a second, taking in what just happened. "It's him, run," was all that was said as the bandit shinobi scattered. But it was always hopeless. Even without the use of the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto was too fast for them all as he dropped them all before they could get filthy yards from the camp, till all that remained was a tall, bulky shinobi that seemed to be the leader. His hair, green and grease, reached the small of his back, and the side of his face housed a snake tattoo. "It's you, the Hurricane of Konoha," he said with awe and spite. "Naruto Uzumaki, a pleasure," Naruto said with a simple grin, "and let's hope your excuse for attacking the Fire Country's borders pleases me." His tone now serious, his smile gone. "I don't care who you are, I will make you pay for what you've done to my men," he seethed, throwing a kunai. Thought Naruto, appearing behind the man in a flash, loud and brash, hot-headed, like a younger me. "Does he charge in?" Naruto dodged a sloppy punch. "Definitely charges in." Naruto drove a foot into the man's stomach, sending him skidding back. Blood leaked from the man's lips. Running through some hand signs, the leader of the camp shouted, Raiden, Kangekiha. Naruto ran through a half a dozen hand signs before shouting, Futon, Rinkuden. Holding fingers to his mouth in a similar fashion to Sasuke, the great air bullet erupted from his mouth and easily cut through the wave of lightning his enemy had produced from his jutsu, continuing on to hit the leader square in the chest, slamming him into the canyon wall. The man's eyes widened as he slid down the canyon wall. He heaved twice before vomiting blood. Dazed, the man wobbled to his feet but froze as he felt a kunai at his throat. You know, for their leader, former leader at least, you are quiet dense. Hurricane of Konoha. Hurricane implies wind jutsu, which is naturally stronger than lightning jutsu. With you as a leader, I'm surprised your band lasted this long. Now answer my question, why have you been attacking the Fire Country and its villages? Naruto said, voice calm, reflecting how serious the situation is. Go to hell, spat the leader. I'm already there, my friend, was Naruto's reply as he drove his kunai through the man's throat. He sighed. Taking a life never appealed to him. But it was something he had to come to terms with. It was a part of being a shinobi. Looking around the camp, realizing how much this resembled the battlefield he had shared with Madara. The dense chakra from the Biju had made the soil turn gray, with a tint of red as light caught it. His mind began to drift off. Flashback. Akatsuki Base 1 year ago. As the entrance to the cave collapsed under the force of his Rasengan, he felt a eerie sense of deja vu. The cold, moldy smell and high, unsettling shadows reminded him of the time they came to rescue Gaara. Well, this is the last thing I expected, said a sadistic voice from the shadows, the great Naruto Uzumaki, the hero of the soon-to-end 4th Shinobi War. You came to visit little old me. You should have called first. I could have cleaned up a bit. What can I say? After all you've done to ruin both my life and everyone I hold dear, the least I can do is end your impending suffering quickly, Naruto replied with a sarcastic voice. Gotten cocky, I see. But you were right, Naruto. By you coming here, you're helping me complete my plan, which will end my suffering quite quickly. The Kyuubi will soon be mine. Thank you, Naruto, Madara said, stepping out of the shadows directly opposite Naruto. Now who is being cocky? You have no more subordinates to hide behind, and I'm sure you know by now that I'm not to be taken lightly. There's no running now, it's just you and me, Naruto said, his toad eyes appearing. Believe it or not, Naruto, I wouldn't have it any other way, Madara chuckled as he pulled his war fan from his back. Present day. Naruto. During his recollections, Naruto went around and laying all the fallen shinobi next to each for cremation. He was brought out of his thoughts by a familiar voice. Turning to find the owner of the voice, he saw all of his friends around him, disgruntled looks on their faces. Hey guys, you took a bit longer than I expected. Naruto smiled, slyly. TCH. Well, if you had, was all Shikamaru could get out before the rest of the squad began letting him know what was on their minds. What were you thinking? Shouted Ino, eyes narrowed. Ya Naruto, Choji said, his look resembling his fiance's. That was stupid even for you, barked Neji. That was very unyouthful of you, Naruto, added Lee. That was very risky, Naruto-kun, piped up Hinata. You're worse than Lee, Tenten called. Troublesome, was all Shikamaru said, feeling exasperated that the two teams were still yelling at Naruto after he had already explained Naruto actions. Guys, was all Naruto said in his defense with a sweat drop. You could have really got hurt, Naruto-kun, what were thinking been so reckless, Yubaka, Sakura said in a gentle tone which didn't match what she wanted to do at the moment. She would try not to hit him. You can love someone and kick their ass for being reckless, stated inner Sakura, smirking, as she examined her nails. Really not helping Sakura, Shikamaru thought, looking from the kunoichi to the blonde. Sorry, Sakura. Sorry guys, I just didn't see why we all had to be here, so I decided to get it all done while you rested is all. You know me, I don't jump the gun like I used without reason, and even then I had good reason, Naruto defended a little annoyed with all the heat was receiving, a scowl reflecting his annoyance. That remains to be seen. Ino said looking at him with a small smile, at least he was okay. And here we thought you matured. Sasuke was right, Sakura said, not realizing her slip up. Inner Sakura stopped looking at her nails as she flinched, her eyes wide. Sighing, she went back to her nails. You'll learn. You baka. Shikamaru yelled in his head looking at Sakura as Sai also put a palm to his face with annoyance. As for Naruto, that was the final straw, bad enough that they ganged up on him, but to throw Sasuke's name into this heated situation. Well, sorry guys, didn't mean to annoy you by being reckless. I forgot perfect people like yourselves have never done anything stupid. Naruto spat coldly and they all recoiled. Naruto. Shikamaru tried to interject. No Shikamaru, they're right, they have never done anything wrong. Say, what did you and the rest of your team do when Asuma-sensei died? That's right, you tried to go after two S-class criminals, directly defying Ba-chan, almost resulting in your deaths. Oh, and Neji remembered when you assumed your father died against his will, to defend the main branch, you tried to kill Hinata. Then, there's Lee, who had only been stitched back together by Ba-chan for a few hours. But still disregarded the order to rest for the immediate future, to ensure you made a full recovery, which would ensure your shinobi status would be returned, but instead you snuck out of hospital to help us retrieve Sasuke. They all looked shocked at Naruto's response but at the same time ashamed, and let's not forget how you all treated me when we were younger, but that was just a fun pastime for you guys. Naruto-kun. Sakura tried to speak, regretting the fact she had brought Sasuke's name into the conversation. His narrowed eyes slowly landed on Sakura, who flinched under the gaze, and then there's you, the girl who used my feelings to manipulate me. Or do you not remember Iron Country? You tried to kill Sasuke and couldn't. And he almost killed you, he would have to if not for me. Quote. Everybody was froze to the spot in shock, they had never seen Naruto like this. Sakura had to fight back tears. But you're right, Sakura, Sasuke would definitely know what mature is. First he abandons the village in S, to join the biggest criminal Konoha has ever produced, fully aware Orochimaru only wants his body for himself. Cough, cough, pedophile, cough, said inner Sakura, with a distasteful look on her face. He then joins the Akatsuki, an organization that's goal is to hunt down Jinchuriku including me. He infiltrates the Kumo, tries to capture Killer Bee, then attacks the 5-cage summit killing dozens of samurai. Let's not forget all this time he has the goal of destroying Konoha and has also attempted to kill all of you on multiple occasions. So forgive me if the fact, Sasuke doesn't find me mature, means piss all to me. Naruto fired at her. Turning curtly, Naruto began to walk away, the anger in his chest carrying him more than his legs. Oh, and let's not forget the icing on the cake, the fourth shinobi war is declared. You decide go to war and not tell me to protect me, lock me on an island, when you guys could barely protect yourselves. Naruto finished with a yell. He paused for a minute and looked around at them all one last time, taking a deep breath to calm himself. The mission is complete. Let's head home, Shikamaru says, feeling a little uneasy with all the tension in the air. You guys go ahead, I have other business to attend to, Naruto said as he leans down to the recently dead shinobi and placed cremation seal on one of the bodies. There was a pause, Shikamaru deciding whether to relate what they were supposed to do now, to the enraged blonde. Quote. Naruto, we were ordered to report back as soon. I know Shikamaru, but I'm under different orders, which are on a need-to-know basis, and Ba-chan already knows, stated Naruto, activating the seal, turning dead bodies into a pile of ashes. Okay, we'll report back, Shikamaru said, quietly. I'll see you soon guys, Naruto says, turning around to them with an obvious fake smile. He remembered what had transpired moments ago. He disappeared in a yellow flash. Nice guys, real smooth, Shikamaru can't help but say. Yeah, After what Shikamaru already said to us earlier about this. Sai speaks for the first time, his eyes narrowed. Sakura, what were you thinking? Sasuke's a bad subject at the best of times, Shikamaru rounding on Sakura. Leave her alone, Shikamaru, Ino says, defending her friend, though a part of her agreed with Shikamaru. Sakura had her head down, her hair covering her eyes to avoid them seeing her tears. Well done, girl, really well done. That's going to make this easier, isn't it? Why not just walk up to him and slap him if you want to get rid of him for good? God, I truly suck. There you go, you learned, said inner Sakura, who had a graduation hat on, which she threw in the air. Tisk. Fine, I won't lecture you. Naruto did that already and I'm sure Hokage-sama will have plenty to say about it as well, Shikamaru said reluctantly. They all shivered at the thought of what the Hokage would say or do to them all, when she finds out what they had said to the man that she had always considered her son. When most people think of Suna, they think of a dry, desolate place that struggles to survive in the rural desert. It looked, to all outsiders, like a rundown village that could not be fit to be considered to be one of the 5 great shinobi villages. But in reality, they couldn't be any further from truth. The Kage stood in his office looking out onto his village, a small rare smile on his face. No matter its flaws, this was his home. The sun was sitting nicely just above the horizon. How he loved to watch the sunset. There was something about it that was calm, tranquil, soothing even. This made Gaara's smile widen. Only a few years ago he would have considered these very thoughts idiotic, which would have led him to kill someone out of anger. But like the village, he had changed. Where the village had changed in size and military strength, making it more intimidating to its enemies, the Kage had become kinder. People believed Gaara was the reason for the change in village's fortunes and his lose of the Shukaku for his change in personality, and for the most part they were right. But one thing that eluded most of the villagers and shinobi was that this was all because of one person, that it was all possible. One person set all this in motion, one single shinobi, not of Suna but in fact their ally Konoha. Naruto Uzumaki. It was Naruto that showed Gaara that life was worth living for and that protecting your loved ones was probably the best reason to do so. Flashback. Alliance Camp 1 year ago. The young Kage remained quiet in his chair after returning to the command tent, ranting about how the Mizukage should have been stricter on her shinobi. The young Mizukage was giving as good as she got, shouting about how the Raikage's poor guarding of the last 2 Jinchuriku resulted in both of them leaving the island with minimum effort. Gaara had grown accustomed to arguments between his fellow Kage, while they argued Tsunade and himself would remain quiet. But for them to be arguing on a day like today, surprised the young Kage. The war was practically over. They should have been in higher spirits, but apparently the Kages could still not see past their indifferences. Quiet all of you, I've just obtained some important information, shouted Tsunade, entering the tent with Kakashi in tow. The Hokage's shouting caught them all off guard, due to the fact that ever since the start of the war, Tsunade had been very reserved in their presence. They all straightened up and gave her their full attention. What's this about Hokage-sama? Gaara inquired. I've just received intel on the location of the captured Biju, Tsunade said calmly. But what she received from all present was hysteria. What? You lie. Are you sure? How can we trust this information? The Hokage remained calm and simply put a hand up, requesting silence, which she got immediately. The information in question was given to me by Naruto Uzumaki, Tsunade stated. This news was not liked. Though Naruto had effectively won the war for them with the defeating of Bot Kabuto and Sasuke, he had still defied them and left the island, where they believed they were keeping him and Killer Bee safe for their own good. How can you be sure of this, Hokage-sama? Asked A, clearly upset because it was under his watch, where they had escaped. I trust Naruto with my life and any information he puts forward, as should all of you, Tsunade replied. He disobeyed direct orders and entered the battlefield, the Onakage snapped. If he hadn't, this war would have had a different outcome. one where we would have lost everything close to us, interjected Gaara. The Onakage just grunted. Though Gaara, at first, felt disgruntled like the others, he knew he really shouldn't have been surprised when he learned of Naruto's escape. He knew Naruto all too well and should have known what length Naruto would go to protect his precious people when finding out the truth. Gaara had to concede that if he himself was still a Jinchuriku, his actions might have been similar. The thought of being caged on an island like an animal angered him. He would have to apologize to Naruto later for going along with this. Even though Naruto is the hero in all this, what proof do we have it's real? A grunted. He trusted it to us instead of going to this place himself. He entrusted his sensei Kakashi Hatake and I to do what we believe is right in this situation. That's all the proof we need, Tsunade answered. And what is it we will do? Mizukage asked. Form a strike team and go get those Biju, interjected Gaara before Tsunade. My thoughts exactly, Kazekage-sama, Tsunade smiled. It will have to be our best. Madara is sure to be there, Onakage said. He won't be there, Tsunade answered, now her eyes closed and clearly upset at her own answer. Care to explain how you know this, Hokage-sama? Gaara asked, curiously. Further information from Naruto. He states Madara is currently hidden in the river country, Tsunade answered, looking at Gaara, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Speaking of which, where is the Gaki? If anything, you think he would be here to give this intel himself, Hokage-sama, Onakage asked. I don't know. Well, that's not entirely true. I know where he's headed but not an exact location, Tsunade said, her eyes closed. He's going after Madara, Gaara said calmly. The Kages had demanded a team be sent to retrieve Naruto before he reached Madara, but Tsunade shot it down. She stated first that they couldn't stop him if they tried, and secondly that Naruto was the only one who could possibly defeat Madara and that any shinobi, themselves included, would just get in the way. Gaara reluctantly agreed with Tsunade at this point. Even though he feared for his friend, he had to agree it was in their best interest to focus on Naruto's plan and go after the Biju. So they devised a large team of top shinobi along with himself, and a sealing team to head to Madara's base. Upon arrival at the base, they were shocked at what they saw. Gaara, however, was pulled out of his thoughts as a wind swept through his office from the open window and blew several of his papers from his desk. Sighing, he returned to the paperwork, unable to put it off any longer. As he moved some papers aside, one piece of paper, which contained a list, stood out. This list had nothing to do with the affairs of Suna but his own personnel to-do list. Looking down at it, he could only frown at all that still needed to be done, but before he could get any perspective on it, a knock on the door interrupted his line of thought. Excuse me, Kazekage-sama, you have a guest, his assistant said, peeking around the door, clearly shy of the person she was announcing. Send him in, Gaara said in his monotone voice, not taking his eyes off his list. His assistant nodded and then closed the door behind her. For a moment Gaara was still looking at his list, thinking, how many flowers are needed? She must be mad, before Gaara remembered a guest was meant to be in the room and that person was remaining awfully quiet. Looking up from his list, his normally neutral expression faltered, showing both surprise and happiness, if only for a second. Standing in front of his desk with his trademark foxy grin stood a blonde Konoha shinobi and a person the Kazekage considered one of his closest friends. Yo, Kazekage-sama, long time no see, said Naruto Uzumaki, his smile large and genuine. Naruto, it's good to see you, Gaara said, looking still slightly taken back by his appearance, then gesturing to the empty seat in front of his desk for Naruto to sit. I'm a little surprised to see you, to be honest, Hokage-sama said. It would be several days before your arrival. Naruto, still grinning, took the seat offered. I cut my affairs short in order to come meet with you. I'm curious, why do you need to see me anyway? Not saying I wasn't looking forward to living the Suna life and hanging out though. Gaara had a small smile playing on his lips. It's been nearly a year since we last meet. How have you been, Naruto? Good. Been kept busy since then, you know. Missions, Council meetings, training, more council meets. I swear I've spent more time in council chambers in the last year than I have been on missions since becoming a genin. How do you put up with it, Gaara? Naruto chuckled. You get used to it. You especially should make the effort too. Hokage will have meetings every week, Gaara replied, his neutral expression and monotone voice returning. Yeah, well, that won't be for a while, I suppose, Naruto answered, scratching the back of his head. So how have you been? The village is looking better than I remember. I'll have to have a proper look around before I leave. I'm glad you noticed. Since the end of the war, the feudal lord has increased our funds, not to mention more missions have been popping our way. It's quite the workload for me, but it needs to be done, Gaara said, looking at his mountain of paperwork. That's good to hear. So what is it you wanted to see me about? Gaara, are you finished with those reports yet? Said a voice from the door, interrupting Naruto. I'm in a meeting at the moment, Kankuro, Gaara replied. Oh, sorry, Kazekage-sama, I didn't. Naruto. Hey Naruto, how it going? Gaara, you didn't tell me Naruto would be coming by, Kankuro said, happily walking straight to Naruto to shake his hand. Kankuro. It's been too long, how have you been? Naruto replied, returning Kankuro's smile with one of his own, as they shook hands. I've been good, Kankuro replied. So? Naruto scanned the young man's face, wondering if he had missed something. So what? Naruto asked, confused. You haven't asked him yet, Gaara? Kankuro asked, turning to his brother. He's only just arrived, Kankuro. I haven't asked him yet, Gaara replied with a tone very out of character. If Naruto had to guess, he would say the Kazekage seemed nervous. Ask me what, Gaara? Kankuro. Naruto asked, looking at the two siblings with interest. The reason I called you here, Naruto, is because I have a personal favor to ask of you. Gaara said, rising from behind his desk and walking over to the two Jonin. Naruto raised his eyebrows out of curiosity. He had never seen the Kazekages nervous. Kankuro simply smirked. You see, in little over 2 months. Gaara, have you got the genin squad lists ready yet? Called a voice from the door. I'm busy at the moment, Temari, Gaara said, annoyed at the fact they had been interrupted again. Sorry, Gaara, but those lists are priority 1, I need them for tomorrow. Temari insisted, only to pause at the sight of Naruto. Naruto. You're here early than we expected, so what do you think of the news? Our baby brother's getting married. Naruto's eyes bulged and his jaw hit the floor, as he turned from Temari, to Kankuro, who was shaking his head, and finally to Gaara, whose face remained neutral. Temari, seeing the reaction of Naruto and Kankuro, turned red. I guess I'm a little early with the question, Temari said sheepishly. You were, Gaara stated. Gaara, you're getting married, that's great. Congratulations. Who's the lucky girl? Naruto asked with a grin. Can't you guess, Naruto? Kankuro asked while taking Naruto's recently empty seat. Curious at Kankuro's statement, Naruto pondered it for a moment before his wide grin returned. Matsuri. They all nodded in unison. Huh. First you beat me at becoming Hokage and now finding a wife, said Naruto. He smiled. I hate you. His voice carried a happy, playful sound. They've been engaged for nearly 6 months. Temari said happily. So Gaara, this personal request, does it have anything to do with this upcoming event? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. It does, Naruto. I was wondering, will you be able to attend? Gaara inquired. Do you even need to ask? Of course, Gaara, I wouldn't miss it for anything in the world, Naruto answered, smiling brightly. Thank you. I know this is a bit of a leap, but would you do me the honor of being my best man? Gaara asked. For the second time that day, Naruto's jaw was hanging. Gaara, you want me to, but surely, was all that the young Jonin could muster. If you don't want to, Naruto. Gaara intervened, only to be cut off by Naruto. No, it's not that, Gaara, he said, his arms waving frantically in defense. I thought Kankuro would have been your choice. He is your brother and all, Naruto explained. Naruto, Suna has many traditions that differ from Konoha. One tradition is the groom, or his best man, has to invite each guest personally. Another one is that immediate family have household ceremonial roles, which deny me the ability to be his best man, Kankuro explained. I'm sorry, Gaara. I didn't mean to offend you. I would be honored to be your best man. Thank you for believing I'm worthy. Naruto smiled gratefully. Thank you for accepting, Naruto. In truth, I only ever considered you, Gaara said, actually showing a true smile. Naruto scratched the back of his head out of embarrassment, a habit that through all his changes refused to die. Okay, are we done with the sappy feeling stuff? Gaara, I really need those genin listings, Temari said, her eyebrow twitching in annoyance. Yeah, and I need those reports for the council, Gaara, Kankuro added as he stretched. Very well, I will have them both for you soon, Gaara answered and started back towards his desk. I suppose I should be getting back to Konoha as well. I need to have a few words with Ba-chan, if there's nothing else, Gaara, Naruto said, thinking of his recently finished mission. But you only just got here, Naruto, can't you stay a couple of days? Miyu and Gaara can hit the town, Kankuro said the last part with a mischievous glint in his eye. Sorry guys, I would love to believe it, but the reason I was able to get here so fast was by promising to return as soon as possible, Naruto said with a fake smile. He hated lying and hoped they didn't notice. In truth, Tsunade had given him a few days off so that he could come to Suna. Though he wanted to see Gaara, it occurred to him that if he could get here early and leave early, he might be able to make it to coast and back to Konoha before anyone noticed anything about his little detour. I understand, Naruto, and yes, there is one last thing. You remember Kankuro mentioning it was tradition for the groom to invite his guest personally. Of course, he said it had to be you or the best M. You want me to invite people, don't you? Naruto asked with a grin. You are correct. I cannot make it to Konoha to do it personally, so I was hoping you would bring them their invitations, Gaara said, opening a cabinet in his desk and handing him a scroll. Okay. Simple. Will that be all? Anything else I need to know? Naruto asked. No. I will be in contact with you about arrangements for coming to Suna, Gaara answered. Okay. Looking forward to it, Naruto said, storing the scroll in his front pocket. Well, I suppose I better be off. Good seeing you again, Gaara. We'll talk soon, Naruto grinned, shaking Gaara's hand. Thank you for taking the time to come out here, Gaara replied, again a smile playing on his lips. With a goodbye to the other two people in the room, he disappeared in a yellow flash. Am I the only one that feels that Knucklehead has changed? He seems more mature, Kankuro said. He has changed. Gone as little shrimp we met in the Chunin exams, Temari smirked. True, but you have to wonder if it's all for the best. I was talking to Kiba and Shino a couple of weeks ago while on a joint mission, and they say he isn't anything like his old self. He seems to be distancing himself from everybody, Kankuro said thoughtfully. That is why we are assisting Hokage-sama, Gaara said, retaking his seat, still looking at the spot Naruto had disappeared on. Humph, tell me something, Gaara. Would you have still asked Naruto to be your best man if Hokage-sama hadn't suggested it for her plan? Kankuro asked. Of course, he's the reason I'm here today. I owe him a lot, and also he's my closest friend, Gaara answered, picking up more papers. What about Matsuri? Is she going along with this? Temari asked with a coy smile. She is, as far as I know, doing her part, Gaara answered, not taking his eyes off the papers. Well, you are right about one thing, Gaara. We all owe Naruto a lot. I hope we can help him, Kankuro said, approaching the desk. As do I, Temari piped in. Speaking of which, Gaara, when are you going to play your part for the village? I need those listings, Temari shouted. Yeah, and I need those reports, Kankuro said. Gaara only sighed and returned to the work he was putting off. As Naruto walked through the streets of Suna towards the gate, he couldn't help but get lost in thought. So much had happened in that short meeting that he had to rethink to make sure it was all real. He was happy for Gaara. Like him, he had suffered greatly when he was young for something he couldn't control, but now he was happier than he had ever seen him. The amount of times he smiled, though it might have been only a few times for a normal person, for Gaara it was huge. And then there's the fact he's getting married. The though filled Naruto with joy for his friend but also gave him a glimmer of hope for himself. Naruto remembered when he was younger looking at all the girls chasing after Sasuke and never giving him even a glance, and that was just because they thought he was a loser. Imagine if they knew what he contained. They would have run, scolded or attacked him like the rest of the village had. It was then Naruto conceded to himself that he would probably be alone for the rest of his life. Even if a girl could see past a loser, they could never see past the Kyuubi, he thought, rubbing his now whiskerless cheeks. But seeing Gaara set to marry, it gave him renewed hope that he would find someone. Opening the list, he skimmed down the list. Each name had a seal next to it, most likely containing their invitation in it. Tsunade, Shizune, Kakashi, Gai, Kurenai, Shikamaru, Shikaku, Ino, Choji, Lee, Neji, Tenten, Shino, Hinata, Kiba, Sai, Yamato, a few others he would have to inquire about. Naruto stopped in his tracks and swore under his breath he should have expected their names, but they still caught him off guard. Sasuke and Sakura. Thanks, Gaara, he thought, sighing as he put the scroll away. He promised Gaara he would be his best man and he wasn't going to back out because of two names on a piece of paper. Besides, you knew you would have to see the two of them again. Just be quick, say hello, hand them the invite and flash away. Simple. Naruto said out loud to no one in particular. Naruto placed the unhappy thoughts into the back of his mind for the time being. After all, he had 2 days to make it to the coast and back to Konoha. It was time to get going. Hopefully the old man has come up with something about that damn seal, he thought, rubbing his temple out of reflex. With that thought, the lone figure exited the gates of Suna and disappeared in a yellow flash. Team Asuma, Team Gai and Sai stood at attention in front of the Hokage. All remained quiet, as she finished working on a previous report. Once done, Tsunade looked up from her desk to study them. They all seemed almost uncomfortable in her presence, as if expect a rebuke for their actions. Well, how did your mission fare? Tsunade asked. There was a pause which instantly confirmed Tsunade's suspicions. They're scared. What did they do? Tsunade wondered but remained casual. It would come out on its own. Report. Was the mission a success or not? Tsunade asked again, tapping her pen a little impatiently. It was, Hokage-sama. The tree to our borders were dealt with quickly and efficiently, Shikamaru answered. So we believe, Choji said in a low voice, but not too low as to escaping the Hokage's ear or Ino's, as she gave him a quick elbow jab for the comment. Care to explain what you mean by that, Choji? Tsunade asked, curious to the vague comment and the glares he received from the rest of the shinobi in the room. But before Choji could answer, it was Shikamaru who decided to answer. You see, Hokage-sama, we didn't witness the demise of the rogue ninja. When we arrived at the canyon where the enemy camped, it was too dark for us to continue, so we set up camp for the night. Naruto took first watch, and when Sai relieved him early that morning, he took it upon himself to enter the canyon alone, Shikamaru said, expecting some outburst from the short-tempered Hokage. Go on, Tsunade said, surprising everybody that the tale so far hadn't angered her. By the time we figured this out and arrived at the enemy encampment, Naruto had already neutralized the enemy, Shikamaru finished. So the mission was a success. So why do you all look like you failed an academy graduation exam? Tsunade asked. No reason, Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said, and they all nodded in unison. Is that so? She inquired again to receive the same nod from them all again. Did you fear punishment because Naruto proceed without backup into a hostile environment which was against orders? Or is it something else? Tsunade inquired again, this time rising from her desk, walking over to her map on the wall, removing the red marker placed by Naruto over the canyon. It seems you have caught us out, Shisho. Sakura chuckled, but not sounding convincing. Yep. Kadis read HH Han. She knows. Run, run, there's a giant window behind her. Jump! Yelled inner Sakura. Sakura growled internally. She couldn't know. Same thing you said when you broke her favorite vase when we were 13. I remember you getting an extra special surprise sparring match, the special part being the part where she set explosive tags all over the training field. The surprise part was when you woke up in the middle of the field at 7 in the morning. Said inner Sakura with a sarcastic smile and tone. Never mind, I'm sure Naruto can fill me in when he returns from Suna. You are all dismissed, Tsunade said, her back still turned to them with a coy smile. Will you answer my question now, I wonder? The Hokage wondered. She turned to see them all still standing there with clear discomfort on their faces. Clearly they all feared whatever Naruto could potentially tell her. Playing along, Tsunade pretended to give a confused look at them. Did you not hear me? You are all dismissed. Unless you have something else to report, Tsunade said, retaking her seat. Shikamaru looked at the rest of them present in the room. They almost gave a reluctant nod. Sakura and Ino, however, didn't move. Hokage-sama, we all have a confession to make. After Naruto ventured into the canyon alone, we all feared for his life, and so when we caught up with him we vented our worries to him in a harsh manner, Shikamaru explained. I see, and I take it Naruto didn't take too kindly to what was said. I come to this conclusion because I'm sure you are aware that Naruto can be very forgiving when it comes to any confrontation with his precious people. Well, most of the time. She glanced quickly at Sakura, but for you to be so on edge you must have all been quite harsh, Tsunade summarized. That would be true, Hokage-sama, Neji said. Neji, did I not say to you directly, not to overdo it? Tsunade said with a sad smile. Everybody's eyes widened to that statement. Shisho, you expected something like this to happen? Sakura asked, angered. To a degree, yes. I suspected Naruto would wish to leave that area quite quickly considering what that area holds regarding his past. Tsunade sighed. They all winced at her statement. Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but why send Naruto along for that mission then? Shikamaru asked. Tsunade simply shrugged before answering. I was hoping that spending some time with his old friends and comrades would bring up some nostalgia for Naruto and help convince him to ignore offers for the 12 Ninja Guard, Tsunade said, leaning back in her chair, and they all winced at that statement. I see. Shikamaru let that slip at least, she thought, seeing their lack of reaction to the Ninja Guard statement. At this point they all were holding their heads in shame. Not hours prior to their outburst on Naruto did they agree that they were going to do everything in their power to convince Naruto to stay. Instead they chose to lash out at him. That's really going to help convince him to stay. Sakura, what did you say to Naruto? The reason I ask you is that since you came in here you have seemed the most down and have avoided eye contact with me through this whole debrief, Tsunade asked her student, not taking her eyes of her student. Sakura continued to stare at her feet, and Tsunade noticed that everybody else, including the normally emotionless Sai, shared Sakura's image of regret. Shisho, I kind of said to him that, well, Sasuke was right about him not maturing, Sakura mumbled. Why could I have been someone else's inner, whined inner Sakura. Normally Tsunade commended herself on the fact that no matter what her emotions to a situation, she would not show them. Well, sometimes anger seemed to slip out occasionally. But upon hearing this, all she could do smack her forehead with her palm and sigh, great Sakura, just great, make this task harder than it already is. Is that all? Tsunade asked, praying to Kami and the 4 previous Hokage that it was. Hi Hokage-sama, they all replied in unison. Very well, dismissed, Tsunade sighed while rubbing her temples. As they all began to file. Sakura, you stay, Tsunade called, her eyes covered by her bangs, her hands still on her temples. Naruto swore under his breath as his foot slipped into another bog. Damn it, old man, why a bog of all places? Not many people knew that the coastal land of the Land of Fire was mostly marsh land, and Naruto was finding that out the hard way. It was the only area of the nation that was unpopulated, During the existence of the Uzushiogakure, it was used as trade route between them and Konoha, but since its destruction the route and area was abandoned. Naruto again stopped to look around, gather his bearings. A dense fog was always present around the marsh, and because of that it was made near impossible to navigate. "Come on, old man, where the hell are you?" Naruto shouted into the nothingness, receiving no reply. Taking a step forward, he froze, and all too familiar feeling came rushing to the front of his head. No, nah. Naruto grabbed his head in a vain attempt to brace himself. He was panting heavily, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. This kid was good, not since Hashirama Senju had he been pushed this far. In fact, even back then he never felt in as much danger as he did now. He looked around, noting the kid had disappeared again. "Where are you, brat?" was all he could think before he felt the sharp sting of a kunai across his eyes. The brat had cut them both cleanly with one swipe. Naruto was dragged back to reality, thankfully, as the flash faded. His body shook violently, moving slightly. He then tried to see his own reflection in a muddy puddle to ensure himself his eyes were still intact. But something else caught his eye, the familiar yellow glow of a seal activating. Naruto swore loudly. For a moment nothing happened, just silence, which was abruptly broken as 5 water dragons erupted from the water around him, their target, him. Pushing chakra into his legs quickly, Naruto leapt high into the air, avoiding 4 of them as they collided with each other. The remaining one, not fooled, continued on for Naruto while he was still mid-air. Acting quickly, Naruto formed hand seals, Futon Rinkuden. The air bullet collided with the dragon, dispelling it, and also gave Naruto further momentum, sending him higher into the air. At that height, Naruto scanned the area quickly, hoping to see a familiar cabin from this altitude. Much to his displeasure, he found that the fog was just too dense. But he didn't have much time to dwell, as the other 4 water dragons had already formed and were coming straight for him. Activating the seal on his wristband, Naruto threw a 3-pronged kunai with as much strength as he could muster deeper into the marsh, and as the water dragons reached him, he was gone in a yellow flash. As Naruto arrived in the same clearing right next to his kunai, he looked around intently. He sighed happily as no further attack came. As he bent down to take his kunai, the perimeter around the clearing again began to glow as another seal activated. But this time, instead of water dragons, hundreds of kunai flew at Naruto from all around the perimeter, completely surrounding him, forcing, yet again, for the young blonde to jump, in an attempt to avoid the danger. The kunai collided with each other with harsh sounds of clashing metal. Trying the same escape tactic, he threw his kunai again, only to his horror to see his kunai hit what seemed like an invisible wall as his kunai flopped innocently before the tree line. As another patch of kunai emerged from the trees, this time aimed towards the air, Naruto had no choice but to attempt a different escape tactic, Futon Rinkuden. It didn't give the same result as it had during the battle with the dragons. Naruto only climbed another foot or so before his head collided with what felt like a brick wall. His vision dimmed slightly as blood trickled down his forehead. Naruto veered around in mid-air to see what he collided with, but like the kunai, he saw nothing. Another barrier. Deciding to test it, the Jonin threw a shuriken from his holster to have his suspicions confirmed as it bounced off what again appeared to be nothing. The next several minutes Naruto was forced to do the same duck cover routine to avoid the kunai. It seemed that when the seal activated, it created an invisible doom around the clearing, and Naruto was incidentally stuck. It seemed that the only way of escape would be to break the seal. Much to the young blonde's frustration, he wouldn't be able to make it close to the seal before getting cut down. There was simply too many kunai for him. Or was there? Even in this situation, Naruto had to chuckle as he thought of it. Even his younger self would have laughed at his stupidity for not thinking of it earlier. But he hadn't relied on or heavily used that jutsu at all since he fought pain, and he no longer needed them for any of his Rasengan techniques, but it was needed now. Making the familiar cross-hand sign which Naruto was once well renowned for. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, 2000. Naruto appeared within the clearing and ran in multiple directions to the seal. As the kunai fired again, nearly all shadow clones were cut down before reaching the seal, but a few dozen did make it and had enough to study the seal briefly. As the clones' collective knowledge returned to him, Naruto recognized the seal. It was a 5-trigram seal very similar to the Gogyo Fuin. Naruto's mind had to work quickly with the amount kunai he had to dodge so far, as well as the sheer amount of clones he also had created. He was getting very tried very quickly. If it's similar to the Gogyo Fuin, then it should be broken by a similar method then. Naruto quickly formulated his plan. Okay, I have to time this right. To start, Naruto focused chakra into his right hand, causing his fingers and thumb to glow blue with chakra. Secondly, activating his wrist seal's fan fiction. Net again, 5 of his father's kunai appeared in his left hand. Third, he waited for the next wave of kunai. As they launched, Naruto leapt high into the air again and with his deadly accuracy threw each kunai at the 5 points that held the seal together. As they reached their target, the second coming of the yellow flash was upon each of those points, striking them with his right hand, Gogyo Kaian. With that there was a pause. Naruto first heard the low hum of the seal deactivating, and then he waited for a second, waiting to see if the kunai came, but they didn't, so the kunai were also linked to the seal as well. I was heading west anyway, so I must be getting close if I have tripped 2 seals in quick succession. Naruto continued west through the marsh and eventually came to yet another clearing, stopping immediately at the tree line looking for another seal. After a careful look, he sensed none, but still cautious, the young Jonin entered the clearing, noticing smoke coming clearly from must have been a hut. Finally found you, old man. A smile playing on his lips, but before he could move towards the hut he sensed a familiar chakra presence as an unnoticed seal triggered. No, it can't be you. What are you doing here? Looking back behind him, he noticed a lone figure come out of the tree line and fog. He was as tall as Naruto with raven-colored hair, pale skin, katana in hand, which electricity arced off. His glowing red eyes of the Sharingan narrowed. Hello Dobi, you're a little off the beaten track, he called, his usual cruel smirk forming. I could say the same to you, Sasuke, Naruto replied, turning fully around to face him. What can I say, I felt like tagging along, seeing where you went. The Uchiha said, taking a few steps forward. Naruto, however, didn't move. Something was off about him. He still had the same air of arrogance, superiority and evil about him, but it seemed hollow, empty, fake. Cut the crap, Sasuke, why are you here? Why did you follow me? Oh, no reason, I just thought. Where better to get my revenge on you for taking away my Manjiko Sharingan, for stopping me from avenging my clan, then in the ass end of the land of fire where no one will ever find your body, dead last. Sasuke spat venom in his voice. Naruto didn't reply but simply raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Well, here I am, take your revenge. Naruto raised his arms from his side in a sign of showing no resistance. In a flash, Sasuke was running at him full speed, katana raised at a striking position. He swung with all his might, as he arrived at the blonde. Naruto didn't flinch, in fact he didn't even blink. As Sasuke's sword made contact with Naruto's neck, Sasuke's form exploded into hundreds of pink cherry blossoms. Said Naruto as the blossoms struck his non-moving form, I had suspected you were full of shit, but this. Well, this is weird. As the blossoms fell, Naruto absent-mindedly raised a hand to catch one, but as one fell into his palm they all faded into nothingness. Naruto stood there for a minute, his hand still raised, and just stared at the place where the blossom would have landed. Very good, Naruto, I'm impressed. You've come very far, a new voice called from the direction of the cabin. I could say the same thing about you, old man. Naruto grinned, turning around to face the new voice. I didn't know you still had tricks like these up your sleeve. There in front of him stood a man in his late 80s, slumped over a walking stick, gray and balding, wearing simple robes and a familiar smile. Well, I had to go all out for you this time, Naruto. I had to see how far you'd progressed, the old man replied. You mean all those were a test? Naruto asked, eyebrows rising. Haha. I must confess they all caught me off guard. Though the last one. I do apologize, Naruto, that last one in particular was a bit harsh, but it needed to be done. I needed to see if you were ready. The three tests were of first the body, to see your reaction and ability in sudden danger, the second of mind, to see if your mind was indeed sharp enough to solve even the difficult of situations in extreme danger with limited options, and third, a test of spirit, the old man explained. Of spirit? I don't understand, Naruto said, a little puzzled. The last seal, Naruto, was of my own design. It taps into the mind in a way. It finds your deepest dreads and fears and brings them out to confront you. That Uchiha kid is the darkest part of your past, and you still hold fears that he will return to the avenger he once was, undo the peace you have achieved for this world, as well as certain promise to return him to a certain kunoichi. By allowing the illusion to strike you, it shows that you believe that the avenger in your old friend is gone, and like the past, it can never hurt you again. You are stronger than it than him. You are ready to put the past behind you where it belongs and move on. You did great. I honestly thought you'd cut the Uchiha down when he charged, the old man explained, a faint smile on his lips. And the cherry blossoms? Naruto asked. We both know you already know their meaning, Naruto, the old man answered with a sad smile. Naruto nodded with a sad smile of his own. Now come inside, we have much to discuss and these old bones can take the cold no longer. As they entered the hut, Naruto had a quick look around. It was simple home, one room with a bed in the corner. Every wall was covered from top to bottom in racks which contained hundreds of scrolls, and there were multiple desks around the room with scrolls on it. Unlike his previous visits, the room was now exceptionally tidy. Naruto made a mental note to ask later. So, old man, any progress? Naruto asked. The old man walked over to a desk in the corner where a single large scroll remained open. I've been looking over the scroll you gave me, Naruto, and I must ask how you acquired his scroll. I would think Konoha would be reluctant to let it out of their archives considering its contents. In truth, old man, they don't know. I couldn't risk asking for it. It would draw suspicion to the situation, so I was forced to take it without their knowledge, Naruto confessed, joining him at the desk. I understand, Naruto, your condition is quite unique. Well, anyway, let me explain what I can gather from it. As you are well aware, Akatsuki Base, 1 year ago. Naruto looked across at Madara. The ancient Uchiha was clutching his face in pain, blood still seeping through his hands, and Naruto still clutched the kunai slick with blood which had just slashed out Madara's Sharingan and Rinnegan. Naruto began to walk slowly over to Madara again, ready to end it all. The Uchiha was nothing without his eyes. Madara, somehow still sensing Naruto's approach, stood up and shouted in his direction. You insolent brat, how dare you? How dare you do this to me? You've just destroyed the last of the two greatest dojutsu to ever grace this earth. You have destroyed the Sage of Six Paths' legacy, destroyed all that he worked for. No, Madara, you're wrong.